Hi, everybody. I'm Marcus N5CY, and we also have Randy here, N0LD, and Harvey W0HGJ, and
Samantha, KC0MTN.
yes,
And
Wyatt KC3BSH.
okay, Wyatt Casey. Uh, we're okay Rovers, along with some other folks who are out of Texas, or Andrea Slack, who's, I'm not sure where her home base is. But we rover around Oklahoma and Texas, Kansas, maybe Nebraska during the VHF contest, which there's three of the three ARL VHF contests is in January, June, and September. There's also the 222 megahertz and up contest from ARL, which is it's not as focused on making grid square contacts as it is focused on what's the furthest QSO that you can make on these bands. So that's a fun one as well. But this is a picture of my rover, and this was taken on Mount Scott in down by Lawton. So today, and briefly, what I want to talk about is rover reality and why some of the existing tools don't work. And then I created some software that I used in the January VHF contest that helped me out considerably. And since then, I've been adding on and adding on and adding on. And so we're going to talk about kind of the more features of that and show some of the highlights. Next slide. So what are the early symptoms of VHF contest rover syndrome? One of them is operating with at the very early stage. It's when you're driving around with a VHF whip for maybe 2 meter and 70 centimeter with an FM mobile radio. Maybe eventually you add 6 meters on. Then maybe the next logical step is to add 222. When you have full contest rover infection, you're running 100 watts on 6 meters. You've got an ICOM 9700 for 270 and 23 centimeters sideband, 902 megahertz transverter, and a whole stack of 10-foot Yagis on the roof of your car.
it goes pretty quick, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Randy
It's
would
like,
have no idea what that's like.
from one contest to the next, it's like I'm going to reorganize this whole thing. Now, the other thing you'll hear about VHF is, oh, well, VHF is dead. You can't make any contacts, which is true if you're trying to operate in the wrong time of day. I mean, would you operate 80 meters at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? No. Well, these bands have their characteristics as well. So you've got to know what time of day to try and do certain things. But also, Mother Nature can really chip in and help you out, and you can get multi-hop on 2 meters or 70 centimeters. This one was one of my records, which was 1,000 miles on 2 meters, single sideband, off the roof of my car, using 100 watts. And that was with FT8. Another reason that this is ridiculous and awesome is many years ago when I was taking the technician exam, I thought, man, who would buy a transverter? That seems like a lot of work to just get one other band. But now I own 3 transverters. They're actually pretty neat. So on my rover, I've gone from 0 QSOs on these bands to a lot. And it's 2 meters, 1.25, 432, 902 megahertz, 1295, 1296, and I've just added 10 gigahertz. So for the next contest, I'm going to hopefully make some 10 gig contacts.
That's a transverter.
That's a transverter as well, yeah. So the transverters are the ones in bold, 222, 902, 1068. And the fun thing is that this one's 100 watts, this one's like 50, this one's 3 watts.
And you don't need more than 3 watts.
Yeah, you don't really need. Another thing that I've never done before was car camping. So this is kind of fun. I'll drive up to Mount Magazine in Arkansas or some other park, and they've got an RV park up there. I'll actually park there, plug my car in for power, and spend the night there. I was there during a storm this last June, and I wasn't at the RV park. I drove around to one of the lookout places, and I parked there, and I was basically the only person over there. And at 11 o'clock at night, the policeman came up and knocked on my window, and he said, "Are you hamming it up?" Yeah, and he said, "Well, officially the park closed at 9 or 10, so you're supposed to be back at your campsite, but feel free to stay as long as you like." And he walked away.
Clearly, you're up to no good.
Yeah, that's he shines the light in, he looks around, he's like, "You're good."
That was before the hat, though. So.
Yeah.
Nobody's naked.
Right. So this turns out to be a lot of fun. So if you're doing summits on the air or something else, this is something you can do with the VHF contest as well. But for the VHF contest, you want to drive around and activate as many grids as you can. So like in my situation, what I do is I activate Mount Magazine on Saturday, and then I'll overnight there Saturday, and then Sunday, like 5 in the morning or whatever, I'll get up and take off and start heading north. And then I'll start making contacts at different grid corners or different sides of the grid line going north. And then toward the afternoon, I'll start heading back to Tulsa and back to Oklahoma City, making contacts along the way. Well, another thing that this has really helped me do is to build up a lot of confidence and skill in potential emergency communications. So I could, for example, park on a higher ground, and I will know what my capabilities are because I've experimented with them and I've tested them out in these VHF contests. Slide. So why this bad idea is really awesome. There's, as you can imagine, there's a lot of technical challenges. One of the things that you'll have to figure out is how to, which antennas you can have kind of close to each other, which ones you need to separate, what bands you can run at the same time without causing interference with other bands. But another thing that I really love about it is the fact that I get to get out. It gives me a reason to get out and drive around and go to these different parks because I've got an activity I'm going to do when I get there. And as much as I would like to spread it out and hit different parks, not every park is on a hilltop. A lot of them are in valleys. Valleys don't do you much good.
I want to add to what you're saying. If you've ever done photo before. Yeah, so these parks count as Rover ones too, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
The other thing that I like is I grew up on a farm, so I'm used to fixing things or building things if needed. I went to engineering school at OSU, so I love the engineering and the fabrication side of things. And this is just like, this is my thing because I love to sit down and look at a problem. How can I do this and design it out? I'll go through 100 sheets of paper before I come up with the final thing and then build it, right? So, and I start off, you don't go from 0 to 100. You start off with a prototype. So my original prototype, which I'll have a slide of, the original one was a PVC rack, and then eventually I transitioned from PVC over to steel as I figured things out. The other thing I had to do was get acquainted with topographical maps and start learning different areas of our state and Arkansas and Missouri and Kansas, and try to figure out what I can do in a contest weekend. What's my range? What can I get done? But this is really neat because I look at these topo maps and I think, wow, that place is 2,500 feet. I want to go see that. But, That's what I did. VHF bands. So the comment that you almost always hear is, well, isn't VHF just a bunch of static? Well, the wrong times of the day, yes. Also, if you get on the VHF bands during the contest weekends, there will be people out there. Because all of us rovers are out roving around. You've got other people that are trying to make QSOs. So it will be busy. So I call these days the VHF activity weekends. Next slide. So this is my initial Rover. I had wood skids, PVC pipe rack. This was Randy's idea. And I just put the antennas down inside there and affixed them with bolts going through the PVC. And then I had cargo straps going around each thing and looping around and coming back down on the other side. I had them going crisscross. This one went front of there and that one went back the other side. And it was using those lift easy out handles that are inside the car. So I would run through the door to that. I attached this wood skid to the roof rack thing here using U-bolts. And then for the PVC side, they have those the stopper ends for a PVC pipe. So I put that on the end of the pipe, drilled a hole through it, put a bolt on it, and that's how I bolted it into the wood. What I had here was a 6 meter stressed Moxon. It's a great antenna. And 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and 23 centimeter Jackies. The 6 meter stressed Moxon, it's directional. So the one big problem I had with it is people off the sides of it, I couldn't hear. Right. Next slide. Again, this is stage one, where in my car I had a toolbox and I just had the radio sitting on top of the toolbox. So I needed tools, and the toolbox, you know, was going to have to come with me. So I put it in the front seat and then put the radios on top to get them up where I could operate them from the driver's seat. And then when I parked, I'd set this monitor on top.
You didn't operate while driving, correct?
Right. Did not operate while driving. This was very early stage, and then I had a strap going all the way around the seat, a couple of, so that when I had the emergency brake, stuff wouldn't go flying out of the seat. The next problem that I had though was if I took a corner real sharp, you know, I'd have to put my hand up there to keep the thing from falling in my lap. And again, the laptop would be in my lap as well. Next. So this is I was on Mount Magazine, and I made a 2 meter QSO up into New York. Wow. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize it at the time. It was later on when Randy said, "Hey, I hear that we made some 1,000-mile QSOs." And I plotted the stuff out. I was like, "Holy crap!" So
I did too. That was a good contest.
yeah, it was neat. But this, you know, when people say you can't get but 10 miles or whatever on VHF, that's not true. And in a valley, that's true. But if you get out of the valley and get up on a hill, you can make quite a bit of range. So yeah, I hit from Arkansas, I hit New York and Pennsylvania. And I've done that more than once. It's usually when I get home and I start plotting things out that I see where those grid squares were. Because I'm not always paying attention. Because I've got too many things going on.
Nick and Harvey and I made 2 meter contacts in South Carolina one time.
Yeah. So South Carolina would be way over here. Yep. Next slide. Problems specific to contest rovers. Oh yeah, so one of the problems that I had was the software that's out there. Most of it is geared toward 2 radios, 1 operator. I've got 4 radios. Doesn't quite work. And their solution is, oh, we'll run 2 laptops, have one laptop for these two and one laptop. It's like, where am I going to put a second laptop? I've got it sitting in my lap already.
What if you have no radios, one operator?
That's a different problem. And then the other problem you run into when you want to upload these QSOs to Logbook of the World, you need to know what county you were in when you made the contact. None of the tools out there will log what county you're in. You've got to know, and that's almost impossible to know while you're driving down the road what county you're in, unless you have software to tell you. Or if you take the time to look at a map, see where you are on a map, then you know what county you're in. The Great Corner dance. This is a fun one. So at a Great Corner, one of us will be here, one will be there, and we're at each one of the corners and we're talking to each other. Well, if you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bands, we're making QSOs on each one of those bands with each operator. And then we all move and do it again and do it again and do it again. So nobody except one of the guys on the team made software to track this. But otherwise, that software didn't exist to track that grid dance QSO. Auto grid. So with FTA, right, you have to punch in your grid number. And there is software to do auto grid for FTA, but it will only talk to one instance of FTA. I'm running 4. So that was a problem. So I would always have to manually update my grid. Anytime I crossed the grid line, I'd have to update it in 4 different instances of FTA and in my logging program.
Very error prone.
Yeah, so that's 5 different places for me to update the grid. And I would always forget one because I would think, well, I'm not going to use that one. I'm not going to mess with it. This guy's calling me over here, so I'm going to make this contact. And then 5 minutes later, somebody will say, hey, can you do other bands? So it's like, yeah, let me change this. But I'll forget it. And then I won't realize it until I get to some other grid. And I see that I just get there and it's telling me that this guy that I'm trying to log is Duke. It's like, no, he's not. I just got here. It's because I forgot to change my grid. I logged him in the wrong grid. Yeah, and so it's easy to miss after many hours of driving and operating. And you have problems with what would be new multipliers showing up as dupes. Another problem is trying to keep up with propagation and band openings. So if multi-hop starts to happen because of Mother Nature throwing us a bone, unless you have PSK reporters sitting there on your dash looking at while you're looking at everything else, you'll miss this band opening. You won't know it's there unless you're rotating your antenna around constantly looking for openings. So we already talked about the coordination chaos of grid corners. So what I always wished for when I'm at one of these places and I'm just crazy busy and I'm really tired, it's like I wished I had software to help me out or a virtual person here to help me do this because I'm overwhelmed. Especially the more sleep deprived I get. Another problem is I'll park at Brahms to go in and get me a cheeseburger real quick. And while I'm inside, the band opens up. And I have no idea. I'm in there just eating my cheeseburger thinking, wow, I'm glad to be out of that car for a few minutes. Another issue that I would always have, this happened every contest, my cell phone was running Google Maps, GPS logger, grid square locator, APRS, and I would have my texting app open because I'd be getting text messages, and I might even be on a phone call. So my phone is overheating, and eventually it turns off. And that's always fun when I'm in the middle of trying to tell Randy I'm here, and then the phone dies. And then you have to wait on it to cool off before you turn it back on again. Post contest, it's So after the contest, hours were spent figuring out when I made this contact, I was in this county and manually updating all the QSOs with the county. So I could upload them to the logbook of the world. You don't have to upload them to the logbook of the world, but it's a good thing to do because a lot of the people contacting you are trying to get the Fred Fish Award for different grids. So if you upload it, it helps them out. Next. Yeah, so when I get tired, I forget to send out a text message, I just mark it a grid and start trying to make contacts and forget to send out a message. I always forget this because I don't use social media that much. But this is a great thing to do. Your rovering is to post on social media. It never occurs to me. And again, as I said earlier, knowing when there's an opening, you're out of the car. Next. So, for the January VHF contest, I created some software using Claude.ai, and it's all in Python. But I created this software to be that virtual assistant in the car with me to help me out. This doesn't it's not talking back and forth to Claude during the contest. This is just software that runs locally on the laptop. It'll run offline. And it monitors WSJTX. Right now I've got it set to 4 different instances, but WSJTX will send out via local broadcast on a port that I made a QSO. So this thing will receive those, and since all 4 of them decode at once, it receives all 4 of them and it queues them up and sends them into my logging program one at a time. Whereas before, when I was monkeying around with this, some of them, they would come in all at the same time. Some of them would get lost because complications. The logging program wasn't created to accept that many connections.
Yeah. Right. So are you doing like REST API calls, or is it just like reading the port and just creating like a sub log that it's then queuing into the
It's monitoring that port.
Okay, so it's just
got
listening.
monitoring 4 different ports. Yeah,
okay,
they're all on 120 on the local loopback interface.
Yeah, it's all self-contained. Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, that's
yeah, and so then it queues all of those up and then sends it to the logging program.
So it's doing that independently of the actual instances. So.
Yep. Cool. The other thing that it does is it watches your WSJT decode, your WSJT all.txt. Well, all.txt. So it watches that log on each one of those WSJT things to see what's going on. And if it sees someone in there that you've decoded that you need would be a new grid, it says new grid and tells you the call sign. It actually announces it via voice. So this is another one of those virtual assistant things trying to help me out. The GPS provides the automatic. So I've got one little $10 GPS device, and it's providing my coordinates to this N5ZY Copilot application, which is auto grid updating all 4 WSJTXs and N1MM logging program. All 4 of them for me.
Is it also looking up your county?
Yes, it also knows what county I'm in. So but N1MM doesn't log the county. So N5ZY Copilot actually writes an ADIF for every. It has a log that it keeps as well, and it puts in that log what the county is, and it's an ADIF. So when I get home, I can import that ADIF, and it already has all my contacts, the grid squares I was in, the counties I was in, all of that stuff's done for me. So the hours and hours and hours of labor done.
Trust me, I know.
How is it associating the contact time with counting? Like, are you just relating on like contact time?
When I log,
yeah,
and that log goes through N5ZY Copilot, it says, well, right now you're in this county.
Okay, so it's just automatically storing it in the flow. Cool.
And it logs it into its own log.
That's awesome.
How does it know what county you're in?
From the GPS
logger.
So you got you can take a latitude, longitude, and then there's a,
I have
Program.
I had to, and this sounds ridiculously hard, but it was actually pretty easy. I had to download data from the government for the different counties and then generate mathematical polygons for those counties. And so it knows it knows if you're at this GPS address, you're inside this polygon. This polygon is this county
So it's just, its source of truth is just the government map for.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
for the counties.
that's all.
and it was saying, is this latitude and longitude in this polygon?
Yes. Yep. And it does that for me. So, this is one of the things. I was like, this is great. I've got to share this with people because this is awesome. So inside of its log, it's going to log again. N1MM doesn't care what county I'm in. It doesn't want to log that. N3FJP doesn't care what county you're in. So this writes its own native log file with my state, my county, my grid square, my DXCC. That way, all I have to do is import this log file. I have to import it in stages because when I import, I want to upload them to Logbook of the World with the correct Logbook of the World certificate. But you have to create a certificate per county. And so then the next thing I had to do was add a manual entry form because not all contacts are on FTA, right? So you'll get to a place, the first thing you do is call out on North American Simplex. This is N5ZY14652, anybody out there? So I have a manual entry tab where I can put that in. And again, it's going to stamp it with my county and the grid square. It does all that for me. All I have to do is put the guy's call sign in and hit log. Thanks. It also updates the Windows clock because when you're offline, we're roving around, your clock drifts. The only caveat here is you have to run it as administrator because otherwise you can't change the clock. And WSJTX will freak out if you roll the clock backwards. It does not like that. You can only go forwards, and you can only go forward in certain increments, like under a second.
You don't use Dimension 4 to do that?
No, because I wanted this built. I didn't want yet another application. You can do that, but I built this in, and you can turn this off or turn it on. But it's one application doing a lot of this work for me.
And it's getting it from the GPS, not.
Yeah, from the GPS. Another great thing that it provides for me, right on the top of the screen, is my battery voltage. And I was going to say it's reading it off the Bluetooth, but I didn't bring it here. If you go back to the main forum, you'll see my table with my monitor and my posters. There's a little plastic box, and inside there is a Victron, I think is what it is. But it's just a current shunt, but it has Bluetooth on it, and it has an open standard for reading the data on that Bluetooth device, and so I can get statistics off of it. Oh yeah, I forgot it was on there. The great thing is, when my battery starts running low, I know about how much longer until I need to swap batteries. So single operator for radio for WSJT. It also receives data from PSK reporting. And I tell it, only show me contacts within 100 miles of me, people making contacts with others way out. And so if they're within 100-mile range of me and they're making a contact to New York, I need to try that. Give me a warning. Tell me multi-hop contact possible pullover, right? So it's getting that data from PSK. This is the one situation where you need internet access to get the PSK data. But it also live monitors my WSJT log. APRS. This is another one where you need internet access. It will beacon on APRS using the TCP/IP internet APRS. It beacons out my location, and as I move, it's beaconing out. But I can also send and receive APRS messages with this. So there's another tab where I can punch in a short message and hit send. So if I'm parked somewhere and I see that within 10 miles, there's a couple of guys on APRS beaconing out their position, I can send them a message saying QSY to 14652. Maybe I can make a contact. Next. Notifications for automated outreach or outreach. So I've also integrated in Twilio, which is a way to send SMS messages to cell phones. So on my table, there's a little thing which you can scan with your phone to sign up for this. But when I get to a new grid square, I can blast out a text message to a bunch of people. Unlike the group chat things where you can have 100 people start replying back and saying things to each other and starting their own conversations, this is a one-way deal. So I can blast this out, and then people can message me back if they want to via my real phone number.
That Twilio, try saying it wrong. Is it resolved based on the phone number? What service they have, like their AT&T or their Verizon or whoever?
They handle that. I don't know what
They do the Twilio?
Yeah. Okay. All I do is I hook into them using a software library, and I say send this message to this phone number.
Okay. Is that a service you have to purchase?
Yeah, and it's like the cost per message is dirt cheap. I mean, you have to send out like 1,000 text messages to get it billed a couple of bucks. But to have the phone number, it's like $3 a month, I think. So yeah.
Just had a quick question. Have you thought about like putting out a cell phone application that, because ostensibly you could take all of the data you're streaming from your system, upload it to an app, you can push notifications, active tracking, those types of things.
The reason I went with this is because everybody has SMS.
That's right.
Done.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell, because believe it or not, some people are skeptical about putting apps on their phone.
Yeah.
I've met a bunch of them over here. For one of them's telling me about their things. But anyway, this Twilio thing allows me to broadcast out that I am on this mountaintop. I'm ready for calls. And I might also blast out now. I'm working on 70 centimeters or whatever. It will also do Slack channel notifications. The problem here, though, is you got to know the person who owns that Slack channel, and as the administrator, they have to give you the magic key that lets you post into it automatically, from a bot, basically.
Do you want the one for the OK Rovers?
Yeah, I'll need that. So I already said that I can send out APRS notifications to anybody that's beaconing within a range that I'd find. And then Twilio to send. Oh yeah. So the other thing I do with Twilio is it will text me some of these high priority alerts that I want. So if I'm not in the car, I'm away from the car, I'll get a text message, and I know I need to get back to the car. Okay.
I got a question for you. Do you, I don't know if you can use N3FJP, because that's kind of my app of preference. Do you think that would be hard to do, or is that?
I can log to it, and I can set the grid in it, but it's kind of wonky. Because it won't show in the interface if the grid has been changed. And I asked the guy who writes it about that, and he said, no, I'm not going to mess with it. So, okay. Scott, yeah.
On that Slack, I have 2 different accounts in Slack. I got 2 different groups that use Slack. And if I want to go talk to the other one, I gotta close that one and open another. I don't know any way of having 2 Slacks open simultaneously. I guess I could if I had 2 computers.
You can have multiple channels.
With 2
Well,
different
if they're
user
rolled up
IDs.
under the same.
Oh, 2 different IDs, yeah. Yeah, you'd have to log out and log in.
You could just have one open on your computer, one open on your phone.
That would be the only, yeah.
Next slide. So here's the app. It's pretty, yeah, it's a little hard to read, I know, but this is displaying the real-time alerts. And this was for a VHF contest, I believe, yeah. I think that says 6 meters, that's 12, that's 6 and 20. So in this case, I had to change it from VHF mode to HF mode. And I put in some of these DXpeditions. And I said, text me when someone within 100 miles of me works one of these DX expeditions and what band. Because then I know I need to hot foot it back to my radio. And it's working. I mean, I got text messages over here. This is, and again, it's getting that through PSK reporter. This is propagation alerts, so it's showing me everything that's being pulled off PSK reporter within the range that I defined. So a station within 100 miles of me making a real long range contact.
Are those different colors, the different bands?
Different priorities.
Oh.
So over here, this red one means it's a DX that I don't have, and it would be an all-time new one. So it would just line up in here with red, and it would send me a text message saying DX priority. The next one is DX on a new band, and then it goes down from there. But for the VHF contest, I also have it shows the band activity. It shows me which band has the most contacts going on.
So this would be good for a QSO party too, right?
Yes.
State QSO.
Yeah, and I built this. First, I built it for VHF only, and then I thought, well, the state QSO party, the Oklahoma QSO party, that would be awesome for that. So I started making some tweaks to it and built that in. And then I thought, well, it'd also be great just for day-to-day DX. And so it gives me voice alerts, as well as being able to text it from my phone. Okay, next. Let's see. So yeah, this is talking about how I have the DX high priority, new DX. The DX2 is just a new DX and a D on it.
So how can I subscribe to get an SMS text message from you every time you enter into the grid?
All you have to do is scan the little barcode thing on my table out there, or you can go to my website and sign up on my website. It's n5zy.org.
Cool.
You'll see SMS messaging right there at the top. And because of all the spamming stuff, they require me to put on there I will not.
And opt out or
Yeah, I have to do all that stuff. So you'll see some other links there. Don't let it scare you into thinking I'm selling your numbers. I'm not doing anything with your numbers. All I'm doing is sending you a text message, and it's only going to be during the VHF contest, which is 3 or 4 a year. Okay, so next. Let's see. So this one, the other thing that I built in for the manual entry, when you're manually typing in a call sign for somebody you're working on phone, it does super partial check. So I downloaded the super partial checks database of 50,000 calls, and then it will, as you're typing the call sign over there, it'll list out the possibilities over here. But it also looks at your workstation history. So if it's somebody that I've worked who's not in the super partial list, they'll show up again. And let's see, it also looks at the WSJT log for QSOs, well, for call signs. And then again, that's just the auto stamped ADIF.
When you say
Super partial?
super partial, is that just downloading the QRZ database or what?
No, there's a group who I forget what their website is, but they have a database of people who contest a lot, and they keep that in this super partial database. And it's free to download, and all it is call signs. So I run it, as you're typing in the call sign, I'm doing a comparison. That
So
was,
even if you're doing the monthly debt, you're trying to keep track.
Yeah.
Something like that could be useful, especially if you had a list that was your last.
actually, I can make an app dedicated to that. All right, next. So this is the grid corner dance screen. So over here, you enter who you're doing the grid dance with, their call sign, what bands they have available, and then you can add them to the matrix. And then when I click on insert LD, for example, it gives me the band buttons here so that when I'm working, I just click the button and it logs it. And then when I'm going to start working the next rover, just click on that one and then walk through the different bands again. And then when we move around, all I do is click on it and edit what grid they're in, and it makes a new matrix. So it should be fast and easy and easier to do when I'm sleep deprived.
It really takes a lot of the guesswork out.
Yeah,
Well, you know how hard it is to keep up with log files
Oh,
if
God,
you're
yeah.
doing it by hand,
Oh,
each
yeah.
one.
and next. I'm running out of time. So the QSY advisor, this was one of the first things that I put into this app. When you're out roving around and you work somebody, you have no idea if it's FTA, how many other bands that they have. This, when I log someone, if they've got all these other bands, it says QSY advice, multiple bands available. So then I can message the guy or I can call him or whatever and say, hey,
So you got that from my database, so.
no. This I put together. ARL publishes the results of all the contests,
So
right?
you know what bands they.
I downloaded the data and imported. And there's a button on there, once a year or so, you can just click that button and it will re-download it all and rebuild this list. And I think that's one of the, bright nuggets of gold that's in this.
You got too much spare time.
I've had a number of people that in January when I was using this, it recommended multiband. So I'd send back QSY to whatever, and they would meet me there, and it was amazing. So this is people's last seen from a contest. So over here it shows when they were last in a contest. I can't quite read. Oh, the distance from me, from my location. It knows that from the GPS. And how many bands that they have, what grid they're in. It gives me a lot of great detail. Next.
Well, this means you'll work me more.
Yeah. Until I hit my QSO limit with the one station. Sorry, my hat's getting hot. All that insulation on there. Let's see. So this one is APRSIS messaging. So yeah, here I can see what messages I've received. Down here I can send a message, and I have buttons for quick messages, like 7.3 QSL. So I can just click that, it'll paste it in there, and then I can make little changes and hit send. Because when you're a rover, you're in a hurry.
If people actually use that, you can make context.
Yeah, that's APRS. That's the downside of it. There'll be 2 or 3. But if I'm at a location and I can't get anyone on the radio, and I get an APRS beacon, I've got somebody to chase. I've got a target, and I can activate that grid and get that one grid multiplier. So let's see, GPS logger. Oh yeah, so the other app that I was running on my cell phone was the GPS logger, right? Well, I built in the GPS logger to this. So it tracks second by second where I'm at. And then when I get home, if there's any kind of discrepancies, I can look at the GPS logger and see where I was when. The other great thing about this GPS logger, what I've used them for in the past, if I'm going to go on a road trip with my wife or something, I'm constantly scanning for higher elevation. Like there's an overpass I could park on, and I'll put a marker in the GPS log and put a little comment of high overpass or something else. So I know that if I'm gonna be roving in this area, that's a place that I might stop and activate. So the whole idea, well, not the whole, one of the great ideas about this is to always have the eyes on the road and let the computer tell me when I need to be paying attention, when I need to pull over. So like if I'm headed toward a grid line, it will tell me the next grid line's 5 miles, 2 miles, 1 mile. If I change grids, it announces that I've driven into the next grid. When I change counties, it'll announce now in such and such county. For propagation on the voice alerts, it will say multi-hop sporadic E pull over, sporadic E detection, band opening alerts, unusual mode activity. So if somebody pops in with Q65 or MSK144, it will tell me that. So I noticed, stop doing what I'm doing and think about what it just saw that maybe I should jump on.
I mean, I don't have to live on that band anymore for my entire thing.
Right.
Watching, waiting,
Right.
hoping.
Right.
So you actually haven't automated the making of the contact yet.
No, that's illegal.
We still need radio operators.
How do you know it's, when it becomes an NSK 144? You have something, you check
PS,
that.
PSK recorders.
Yeah.
Okay,
Has that as the field.
You don't know that. Which requires internet.
Yeah,
How often do you poll PSK report?
it's every 10 minutes.
So that you don't go over their limit.
Right. See, system. It will tell you if it's acquired the GPS or lost GPS. It gives you a warning when the battery's getting low. And if I restart N1MM, it will announce, reconnected to N1MM. The other thing that was weird is in WSJTX, this took me a little while to figure out. When you change modes, it closes down and reopens. So if you're manually entering your grid, it will reset back to what it was before, unless you actually saved it in there. The auto grid is what I'm talking about. If you're auto gridding into it, when you change modes from FT8 to FT4, your auto grid got wiped out and it went back to that other grid. I didn't know that. So I was using the wrong grid. So I had to code that in. It watches WSJTX, and when it sees that process close down and relaunch, it auto grids it again. Okay, next. This is kind of the layout of how it works. It's this Python app sitting here, GPS going into it, Victron, Bluetooth, voltage regulator, voltage monitor, current monitor, WSJTX, PSK for APRSIS, all going into this. Super partial check is another resource that it uses. This should be a double-headed arrow. Again, this is a database on the machine, works offline. The only thing that's not offline would be PSK recorder and Slack and Twilio. Yeah, I need to color those boxes.
Are you using Starlink or?
Yeah, I'm using Starlink.
Yeah.
Starlink maybe. Good, next. So again, the contest modes that I've got in there right now is the VHF, AR, VHF, the 222 and up. And I did the Oklahoma State QSO party. I've got that in there. The other QSO parties, I just need to do the vector graphics for each one of those other counties and those parties. They're a little wonky though. Some of them, it's not a state party so much as a region party. And there's multiple states in them. So I thought on this one, if somebody was interested in doing a different state QSO party as a rover, contact me and I'll see if I can come up with the map. It's easy to do. I just need to know what states and counties are in the contest. So it'll do 160 for bands, my bands in the settings. It'll do 160 meters up to like all the amateur radio bands are in there. You just choose you tell it what bands you have on board. And so then it filters everything. It doesn't show anything that's outside of any band you got on. In the 4 WSJT instances, so you can name them. I've named them on my radios: 7610, 9600, 73. And then N1MM plus and N3FJP, I can set the grid in N3FJP and I can log to it. That's it.
So have you thought about making a window into your other laptops and not even opening them and then just do them on your computer on one laptop?
This is all on one laptop. 4 WSJTXs and this,
Oh, I got
and the logging program all on one laptop.
And it's a standard low grade laptop, or is it a high?
That's that one right there.
It's an HP.
It's a couple years old. Okay, next slide. Oh, that was the settings. So this is all settings. These are things that these are all fields that you can put things into. I know you can't read them. So, you know, this is where I would seek some input. What other things should we build in there? What other states? For state QSO parties. And so I was listing off a few of the things that I've already accomplished, but then one of the future things that would be awesome was if I could, you know, somehow integrate LiDAR to tell me that a low hanging limb is coming up that's dangerous. So I don't run into this situation. Or, you know, have a video camera on there to give me to switch over to a live video feed as the tree limb takes my antenna off.
At least you got footage for insurance.
Yeah.
I hate to butt in, time check, someone has a testing session coming up.
Yeah. We got it.
It's in here.
Okay. Yeah, it is here.
I highly recommend you write a QST article, and I highly recommend that you read that Hamfest this during the VHF, but you got to get it down to like 20 minutes. I think.
Yeah. Well, the Hamfest thing, I'd asked them about me doing this there, and I had missed the cutoff date by a week.
Okay.
So
Can we all have this before the next contest?
yeah, you can have it right now. It's on GitHub.
Oh, I was
So you
about
can
to
download it.
ask.
And if you've never used Python, I've got instructions on there on how to run this. It's really simple. You install Python, you download this thing, and you run a couple commands, and then there's a bat file that you run. Bat file launches the program for you.
Python's interpreted.
Yeah.
Can I run it on Linux?
Well, yeah. As
No,
long as you can support
The
Python
whole reason I
interpreter.
didn't do that, because I am a Linux guy, is because N1AMM doesn't run on Linux.
No.
Right?
N3FJP doesn't run on Linux. WSJTX does, but then the problem I ran in with WSJTX is the audio ports. In Linux, there isn't an easy, they don't always stay where they are. And so if you load a program in a different order, your audio streams are in different orders.
Good answer.
And it's a. Okay, next slide. So if you want to sign up for the SMS alerts, that's the QR code to do that. I've also got it on my table back there. And then this is where the source code is. It's on github.com/n5zy. I also have a blog, n5zy.org/copilot. And I set up a community on groups.io for this. So if we start having people use this, they want to chat about feature changes or whatever.
So there's a guy in California that builds a little device that'll do county and grid squared. And I bought it, and I had all kinds of trouble with it. This replaces that just for that.
Yeah.
Just using that app alone, that's amazing.
Yeah. And of course, my QR is it. And again, this is open source. If you want to change it, you can take my code and fork it and make your own version. Okay. I'm hoping people find this useful and that we can start using this and getting more people involved in the contest, because the more QSOs we make, the more fun it is.
You know who will like this, same thing.
Yeah, I need to, I sent her an email, but it bounced back as undelivered.
There's a guy down in Texas that does the hamster video. You ought to present on there. I think he would love this.
I'm not familiar with that.
Uh,
I also need to put it on the, not Twitch, what's the group thing we were just talking about a little while ago? Slack. I need to post it into the North Texas VHF Slack channel. But I wanted to, work through some of these bugs before I started making it really popular. But it's ready to go now. It's pretty spit polished, and working well.
is the testing in here?
Yeah.
No, it's gonna stay over there.
That was there.
Testing's in the next one.
Next slide just says. Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
this is just a technical stack. Everybody cares about it. Next. Yeah, that's the end of it.
Cool.
And the artwork, by the way, another Claude.ai thing. I'd said, give me a bison inside of a circle patch. And it came up with that. And I thought, well, damn, that's pretty good.
Good time.
We were
Alright.
trying to make one, we were having trouble, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great work.
Thank you. It's been a lot of work. It's